As the interviewer, I am Julie Fluke. I'm from Seattle, Washington, and a volunteer at Providence Mount Saint Vincent.
My name is Elizabeth Hansen. I'm at Mount Saint Vincent's in Seattle, Washington, and I am a co-volunteer with Julie.
As fellow volunteers,
Yes.
we've not had the chance to meet
No, we
because of
haven't.
COVID and so many things. I'm really interested in learning more about your experience. So how did you and the Mount connect?
I was taking care of my husband, Hal, who suffered a cerebral hemorrhage from a fall. And I took care of him at home for a couple of years, and then I had to call the fire department several times because he'd fallen. And so this was the last time I realized I just couldn't do this anymore. I wanted to, but I couldn't. In fact, even taking care of him, I got pneumonia and almost died myself. So then we were looking around for a place for Hal to come to with his daughter, my stepdaughter, and we went to several places, and what we settled upon was the Mount Saint Vincent's would be the best place. And he was already here, not as a permanent resident, but because of his last fall, recovering from that. So then he moved up to the third floor on the nursing side, and it was difficult for him at first because he was a very strong individual and very much an in charge person. He just took this ladder from the neighbors and was testing it out to see if it would be safe enough for a helper to use, but he used it himself and hurt his head, falling on the patio. So he moved in here in the fall of 2007, and they needed a Eucharistic ministers to bring communion to the residents. So I started that in 2008 and did that as long as he was here, as well as visiting him. And in January of 2011, he did die here at the Mount. I remember how he was escorted out with that beautiful quilt that someone had made here for the Mount. But to go back a little bit further, when I was visiting him, had a wonderful time with some of the other residents in the neighborhood. We put puzzles together.
Yeah.
And that was fun. And then often we couldn't finish, but there was a wonderful nurse on the floor. He would finish them for us. He was good. And then her husband would frame them. Oh, there was a woman who invited me to become a reader at Mass. So then I was a reader at my church. That's reading some of the readings of the Mass. So like the epistle and the psalm, and of course the priest always says the gospel.
So your husband essentially connected you to the Mount.
That's right.
And then you've just stayed connected.
Yes.
And so through these really important spiritual elements that you've brought, being the minister and being the reader, are you still doing those activities
that now.
today?
Yes.
Wow, so that's been about, 15 years?
Just about, yes. And it's been a very meaningful part of my life.
How often do you come to the Mount then as a volunteer?
Well, now I'm coming twice a week on Tuesdays and Fridays because they have a priest that comes those days. That's another nice relationship.
Sure.
It's just been very gratifying to be part of this and to have a sense that I'm needed, because I know that it's difficult getting volunteers now. After Mass, and I assist the priest with the Mass, then I bring Holy Communion around to people in the nursing side. And some of those people I've known just for years and years. And it's sad to see the decline, but it's a wonderful experience to visit with them.
What do you find most rewarding about those visits? Is it something maybe reminiscent from your past?
No, it's pretty much in the now. They're so grateful for this. I mean, it means so much to them to be able to receive Holy Communion. Gives them a little joy.
I find it intriguing that the Mount has such a spiritual focus that's lacking from a lot of other senior communities.
Yes.
What do you think the future will be?
What I would like to see, that the lines would blur between different Christianities, churches, and traditions.
Maybe be more all-encompassing
Yes.
and maybe a stronger focus just on faith,
Yes.
regardless of what denomination.
Yes, and focus on Jesus Christ.
Did you grow up in the Northwest?
Yes, I grew up in Seattle.
So this has always been part of your existence in a way, right?
Oh, yes, very much. In a lot of ways, I feel that the Mount is kind of my second home.
Especially on Tuesdays and Fridays.
That's right.
All right. Well, it's been a pleasure getting to know and hear your story and your perspective of the Mount. It's so important that you and I, as volunteers, are here.
I think you were a wonderful interviewer.
Oh,
I
thank
think
you.
you did a very good job.
I think you're a wonderful volunteer and interviewee.
Oh, thank you.